Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Between the Lines. My name is John Lofton. It is Sunday, October 24th, 2021. I always like doing the date, so, when you watch this, you know when it was originally done. I know it says down below and it has like 1 year ago, but after a year, if you're watching this a year later, you don't know if it's been a year and 3 months. YouTube stops caring at that point. So, for your record, I just wanted to give it time and date because that's obviously relevant to what I've talked about and what's going on in the world and all that. Well, anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. I am trying to stay positive. I really am. That was the whole motto for this show. And it was already planned out a couple days ago of I was going to go down this narrow way of doing the show, kind of with the just focusing on positive, because you know why? There's enough negative right now. And I've actually been doing good at not really watching mainstream news. Since I don't work for the TV station anymore, I don't really care as much about the mainstream stuff, the stuff that you just get on the 5 and 6 o'clock. I've been in this sort of like research sort of mode of actually finding some stories that might not otherwise get told. And I think there's a lot of really good news stories out there. Of course, a quick Google search, you don't have to look hard to find good news stories. There's sites that are all dedicated to this sort of thing. So for me, that made my research a bit easy. And I just hope that today is just a point of happiness for you. Excuse me, I had something right in my eye. But I hope it's a point of happiness for you. I hope that today just makes you smile. That's all I want to do today. Between the lines, we're normally known for a lot of our antics with just talking about stuff that's really uncomfortable to talk about. And today, and you might be a little on the fence to this. So you might be like, well, Odie, why aren't, or see, I do this sometimes. I slip up on the name that I like to go by. I have 2 legal first names. If you need more information on that, I did the same thing 2 weeks ago. Go watch that video and I'll explain why I call myself Odie. But a lot of you guys who watch this already know. But anyway, my way I like to be referred here on air is John, just because it's easy for everybody to remember. Anyway, so it was kind of like, just, you might be thinking, John, well, why don't you just stick to what you do, right? That's why I watch it. And I'm like, you're right. But everybody needs a little bit of a break. And if this show isn't your thing, you know what? I make one every single Sunday. Same time, same place. I'm sure next week I'm going to be talking about something fun that you're probably going to be interested in. Am I going to hit a home run every week? No. Do I expect that you guys are going to watch every single show every single week? No. I hope you do. It'd be kind of cool. Have some loyal fans out there. Who knows? I might even throw a fact or trivia in a question and be like, hey, if you answer this, I'll be able to do a giveaway or something. Anyway, all right, so let's dive into today's subject. We're going to stay positive. I don't know about where you guys are at, but it has been raining here in Iowa all day long, which has really put a hamper in trying to stay positive. Also had some bad news. I guess one of our church family members had passed away over this last weekend, and it was the same one that I went and I helped build a wheelchair ramp for several weeks ago. And one hand, you're happy because, as Christians, we know that they're in glory with their God, their creator. And on the other hand, we're sad because, we have to go without seeing them for a little while. And we're sad for the family who lost a loved one for a little while. And so to have a show like today, I was actually kind of debating on this. Like, am I really able to be positive? I got so much stacked right now with a new job, trying to make things work. We were supposed to take our kid to the pumpkin patch. I was going to record this show yesterday, and obviously the weather and all that kind of prevented us from being able to do any of that. So I could just be negative right now. I really could. I got enough reasons, and probably enough reasons you wouldn't blame me for. And I'm just like, you know what? I gotta focus on the good right now. I gotta. And something that I do every year that I think is really good, and is I like to let my facial hair grow around this time of year. Everybody knows the whole No Shave November. I like to do that. I'm not very good at it, not because of anything I can really control, just genetics. It's kind of patchy. I get a nice little, like, I don't know, what do you guys call this? Like, sorry, that's why I'm looking over here, is because I'm trying to see myself. I have a monitor over here, but what do you guys call this little thing here? It's just like, you have this tiny little patch of hair, then nothing, and then your what would be the start of your beard or your chin hair. What do you guys call this little thing here? And like, for me, does anybody else have this issue with, like, it's not a cleft lip, I don't know what you call this, but the little gap in here? Does anyone else have this issue where they can't get anything to grow here? Well, anyway, I don't really care. You know why? Because it's not about how it looks. It's about why I do it. And I do it just because it was, for cancer research and all of that. The same reason, sometimes in September, I might actually wear something pink just for breast cancer awareness. Why? Because my mom had cancer when I was in high school, and she had breast cancer in my senior year. And of course, she passed away in 2015 from pancreatic cancer. But I was just thinking, I gotta keep going positive, and doing the beard thing is one way I try to stay positive because, if people ask me, "Oh, how come you're growing that out?" Well, you know the whole thing. No Shave November. I'm doing this to help raise awareness for cancer research, and so that's why I do it. That's how originally this whole thing got started. That's why I still do it today. I know it's not nearly as popular as it was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, but I still like to do it. And then mid-December or so, or whenever I can't deal with the itchiness of it anymore, I will get rid of it, or it starts growing zits, or you get ingrown hair, because I'm notorious for that. They're thick hair. They're just not dense. Anyway. But today, I found a couple stories online that really meant a lot to me, and they were really just the kind of stuff that you relate to. And I think hopefully you guys will relate this too. And that leads us into story time. So I had a tradition. I kind of got away for a little while, but I'd like to go back into it. It's where I open my show usually with a story, and then I talk about the research and the data, and then I present my opinion at the end. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, maybe slightly abbreviated, because I think we're already 7 minutes into this thing. So so the story today, in high school, I'm getting back to being as skinny as I was then too. Like, I'm down to 172 now, and in high school it was 150. So we're getting there. But I used to run a lot, competitively. I was in cross country and I was in track. I even tried out wrestling for a year. I failed at that. I'm not a wrestler. But I was definitely a runner. I was definitely an athlete, and I was decent at two events. I could either run for really long distances, or I could do a really good sprint. Anything between a 400 meter and a 1200 meter, I was garbage at. Nope. Could not run those races. I was always dead last. I don't know why, because I could never figure out, do I sprint or jog? Sprint or jog? And where do you turn on the gas? I just never, it wasn't so much of a strategic thing, it was just a mental thing. I didn't know where my gas was. I either had this cruise control thing I did in cross country, or I did this all out, let's just burn rubber. I was at a drag strip or something, for sprint, but I never could figure out, let's call it NASCAR style racing. These kind of longer but shorter sprints, because they do these stages now, which is garbage, but whatever. There's my opinion of NASCAR right now. Anyway, most of you guys probably don't care. That's okay. I get off of my little rants. You guys are known for that. If you're watching this show and you've been watching it a long time, then you're probably laughing, because I love doing this little rants. I love doing it, and I get a little bit of feedback. They're really funny. If you guys don't like them, hey, share them below. Before I go to, speaking of sharing, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, because it's the only way this channel is ever going to grow is if you guys are sharing it. So that would mean a lot to me if you guys would do that to your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams, all that good stuff. I would ask you, don't do it on TikTok. I'm just morally opposed to TikTok, and we can get into that discussion later on, but that's a different day. But otherwise, yeah, share this thing, would you? It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to have you guys here. But I was definitely a runner back then, and I was actually in the process of training for a half marathon. And I was up to about 10 miles comfortably running. I think that's about as much as I ever ran. Your legs will never know soreness until you actually go. When you're going for your longest distance, your legs will never know soreness like that until you do it. It is a mental, it is a physical experience. If you're not a runner and you don't know what I'm talking about, there is something about when you run and you run and you run and you don't stop. Your body, even 100 meters into something, even if you're fresh and you've been doing this, sometimes your body, even at 100 meters down the road, especially if you start out on a hill, It just hates you. And it's going to be like, why are you doing this? Or why? What? So we can end up at the same place we started? Why? Well, it's kind of not the point. The point is, it's about telling that part of your brain, shut up and just do what I'm asking you to do. Run. Would you? Kindly? That's really what it was for me. Like, I literally had to talk crap about myself in my head in order to get past those mental barriers. I literally had to, as if it, like I had a heckler in my head, basically. Think about it. Like someone who's telling you, you should not be doing this. This is hopeless. Why? What's the point? What are you going to gain out of doing this? That's exactly what goes on in my head when I'm running. And it's a battle. And I kept doing it because I enjoyed it, because it gave me confidence to conquer that doubt. That just because in my mind it didn't want to do something, my willpower and my spirit said, no, I'm doing this. And it was healthy. It was something I was decently good at. Never really made state, except for team qualifications, that type of stuff. But I was never last, but I was never first. I was always a middle of the road kind of guy. And I tried to find a cross-country photo from way back when to show you guys. I know I've got one. I can see the picture in my head. Excuse me, guys. You have to forgive my allergies. I got any medications. I'm still coughing stuff. Ugh. Anyway, but yeah, so I wish I could have that picture to show you guys. It was something. It was definitely something. I ran from middle school. So anyway, I found this article. And this was actually out of Nebraska, and I am going to make sure that that's over there so you guys can see it. Here we go. Cool. Look at that. Green screen even on. All right. So actually, I'm going to skip this first one here real quick because I'm going to go straight to this. We'll get back to the Nevada one. Actually, some of you guys might pronounce that Nevada, but you're wrong, and I'll tell you why later. Anyway, all right. So it's a Nebraska teenager who is running, and you can read the show notes. You can even click on the link in the article. They're all in my Google Drive. So there's a link at the bottom of the description, and it'll take you right to these Google Docs. You can read a lot of my show notes and everything. So feel free to do that. So for today, though, we have this one here, and this is basically about a teenager running cross country. And I can tell you that this was never really an isolated. This seems special, something that doesn't happen. You're right, it didn't happen every race, but I have seen runners help other runners. Now, there is a rule against that, and for good reason. It's sort of complicated, and I don't really need to go into the dynamics of it, but it didn't really matter in this case. But there was a runner who had a outside chance of qualifying for state, and he realized about let's call it halfway, into his run. It was just over a 3-mile race, which is actually pretty typical for our high school cross country. Sometimes we even did 5 miles, but most of them were around 3. But anyway, so he realized kind of halfway through, he really didn't have a chance of qualifying. And there was another teenager who knew it wasn't going to make it, but he still wanted to go out and beat his personal best. That was me. I would have been the second teenager. Except I never collapsed on the track itself. Call that, I guess, just dumb luck, because there were times my legs would cramp, just like the story says, and you just want to collapse. Either your knee joints give out, your ankles, or your calf. If you're not drinking enough water beforehand, or it's really cold, and you don't have the right leggings on. Yeah, guys wear like a legging. It's basically a tight fit pant that goes on, and it just helps keeps your leg warm. Not like leg warmers. I don't know what they're called. I didn't call them that anyway, but they're basically tights. And they just fit around, and they do a good job of wicking the sweat away, but they also do a good job of just keeping your leg warm enough to help prevent cramps. But even then, it only goes so far. Anyway, so even though it was a long shot, he still kept going. But this other teenager got finally to 100 meters. He had already collapsed 3 times. Actually, this was the third time. And his dad was going to come up and ask him, and his coaches were all there. But before they get to him, this other teenager who could have made, qualifications, who realized he wasn't, offered to give this kid a hand up. They went together to the finish line tandem, and at the end, the teenager even let the other teenager finish before him. Now, the thing with that is it's not official, right? The time doesn't count because he got help. You can't have assistance like that in cross country. Kind of would defeat the purpose then, if you will. But that isn't to say that in cross country we didn't have like techniques to block so that our faster runners could make it forward, especially for those team competitions. We could do like a blocking technique, if you will, kind of. Not intentionally. It's just kind of like football. There's certain ways you can do things and certain ways you can't. Cross country is the same. It's been too long ago. I don't remember all the things, but we had tactics to try to keep our faster runners up front, and that's kind of how we did it. But the time did stand, and it meant a lot, and I'm sure it meant a lot to the people who were there. And I know that if I were in that position, I definitely would have probably helped that teenager who fell, or would have been the teenager who fell. I could see myself in both places in this. And let me tell you guys, it's humbling when that happens to you, when someone helps you, but it's also gratifying when you get to be the one to help pick someone up. And it's a classic sentimental thing. We've probably heard stories about this a lot. And, but yeah, so I just thought that one at least resonated with me. And if you've ever run for any length of distance and you've done it consistently, you can probably relate. And that goes into kind of the life lesson. It's not about finishing first. It's really about your own race. What are you doing? Are you living the life the best that you can? For me, I live for God. I live for Christ. And that's my race. That's what I have to do. And you stumble, you fall. Sometimes you get boosted up and you get new energy and you're like sprinting ahead and you're on fire. Basically, we call it being on fire for the Lord. And sometimes you go through that, but it's a pattern over time, a lot of time. And you're probably running on a different racetrack if you're me than the rest of the world is. Because I'm actually trying to run away from the rest of the world. I'm trying to run with people who are chasing Christ. That's my race. And now I can see that a whole lot clearer than I could back then. I really can. I can see that the competition between others isn't nearly as important. And I'm really competitive. I hate to lose. I do not like to lose. I actually do still get a little bit bitter about all that. So just know that, guys. I still get a little bitter when I lose or my favorite team loses. I can't stand it sometimes, but I'm getting better at it. And I'm realizing that really where I'm failing is when I let down my values, my morals, and the things that I tell myself I'm running for. When I don't meet those goals, that's when it really hits you. And I hope that you guys have that. You have those life circumstances and those goals that you really just know that you gotta have. And but yeah, definitely one of those feel-good stories. We're gonna move on to my second story here. I'm gonna scroll back up here to the top. And this one actually comes from my hometown of Nevada, Iowa. I lived there from the time I was 11 years old until I left for college. And even then I came back for a year after college before moving to Ames, which is right next door. And so I graduated from Nevada High. And when I was a teenager, I was not the best, let's just call it what it is. I was a horrible teenager. I had no respect for authority. My freshman year of high school, I was getting D's and F's. I had to retake a class. I almost failed the whole grade. And it was just a mess. My life was absolutely heading on a train that was bound to crash off a cliff. And I was just riding it because I just did not care. I had a lot of mental health illness. I had a lot of paranoia back then. Thankfully, now I'm a lot better. Medication, some therapy, and of course, a little bit of faith and understanding and maturity and getting out those teenage hormones obviously helped a lot. But growing up, I didn't have a lot of respect for police. I really didn't. I didn't have respect for authority in general. In fact, I had a couple run-ins with law enforcement, even myself did. So thankful to have all that behind me. I'm thankful that it's expunged. It wasn't anything too serious where when I turned 18, it was going to follow me into my adulthood. But it was things I wasn't proud of. A lot of it was just the worst thing I ever did with the police. And I never got charged for this. This isn't what I was ever charged with. But I kind of shoved a police officer who just so happened to be a chief of police. He showed a lot of good mercy and restraint on me. Obviously, I was going through a big mental breakdown at the time, and that's a whole different discussion. I've probably talked about it before. But he showed a lot of leniency to me. A lot. I could be in a whole lot worse trouble and still have that trouble, even though it might have been in my past, hanging over me in my adult years for that. But he didn't. And I'm a better person now. I got the help I needed. And I don't have that past hanging around with me. And I'm thankful to that police officer who could have gotten me for a whole lot more than what ended up happening in that situation. So, looking back, I certainly wasn't grateful at the time. Now I truly am. Because it could have had a huge effect on my adulthood. Even though, even at 32, I'm not nearly the same person I was when I was 15. So just understand that, folks, So this next story is just about a kid, and I hope that stories that we hear about kids who have good interactions with police, I really hope that this helps model their behavior and their mind around who the police are and what their true purpose is. We always see police putting guys in handcuffs and taking them to jail and, having to give out speeding tickets and when doing things are, when someone does something wrong, right? That's why we call them police. But I know this. I've got a sign, and you guys can, in the picture I took, you guys can't see it, but on that panel, just to the right of the printer that you guys are seeing in there, just above that view, there is a sticker now that says, Blue Lives Matter. I did not put that up there as an opposition to Black Lives Matter or anything like that. I actually put it up there just for the simple truth of what it is. Police officers, the paramedics, first responders, we got in, especially last year, I think it's getting better now as far as our mindset about police. But for a while, there were a lot of people who hated police officers just because they wore a badge and had no respect for them, even if all they had to do was inconvenience themselves for 5, 10, 20 minutes even, and they could have walked away from a situation, but decided to be defiant, and the police had to do what the police had to do, And how hard must it be on a police officer to mentally have to separate their emotions from what's really going on and have such a restraint level that they figure out what's really going to matter here. What's really the wrong happening here? Is this an easy fix? Is it a chargeable offense that they have to take action on? Or can they use judgment and have leniency? That's kind of the I guess the crux of what police are and that mindset. And that is why I keep that sticker up there. But this little boy always drives up and down M Avenue, and I know M Avenue quite well. It's not too far from N. Actually, I think where this is probably happening at was only about 2 or 3 blocks from where I grew up. And it would have been just 2 blocks north, I think, probably. Yeah, it would have been 2 blocks north because I was off L Avenue, which is better known as Lincoln Way or Old Highway 30. And, so this kid drives his little battery powered car. You guys know the kind. And always did it every day. Just really love that. According to his parents in this article, other toys just outgrew. And you guys know I got a 4-year-old myself. There's certain things that he loves. I think right now he's super into robots. I don't know what his deal with robots are right now, but he loves it. He is into it, and I am happy. If he's into robots and he wants to learn how to make them, that is such a good engineering career that he could get himself into later on in life. Every toy he plays with, I think about it in terms of what are his career aspirations with that? You know, even something like Play-Doh. Is he going to be an artist? Could he be a crafter, a welder, something like that? Something where he's got to mold something and make something out of blob, basically, into something. When he plays with Legos, is he going to be an architect? Is he going to be an engineer, structural engineer? You know, when he's singing, please don't sing. No, I'm just kidding. Because music is not a career path. Well, at least not a attainable career path for a lot of folks. But I still want him to sing. I love it when he's dancing in the other room and we got music going and all that. And so I could totally, even though my kid's not into doing the RC car thing, I could totally see my kid, you know, doing something like this just every day out of habit. And well, in this case, the police, they noticed a little sticker he had on there was falling off. And someone called in, and a print shop in town, excuse me, had donated everything to the sticker, and a couple police officers showed up, and they gave it to the kid, and gave him an honorary badge, and I'm sure it just made his day. You know, that these stories are common, but I don't know that they're obviously not what makes headlines. Because why would they, right? There's no conflict in that. So, yeah. So I just hope that all of you guys kind of see this thing in your kids. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this one, because I see a lot of this in my kid. What are the possibilities? What can you do as parents to foster that and figure out where their interests lie, and then be able to foster that, help it grow, develop into something? You know, if they're going to be passionate about something, a lot of times I think it's going to be because, you know, we were encouraging about it. We wanted it to happen, and they responded to that positive behavior by getting into it more. And before you know it, they're just so far into it that they've got all the motivation built up and they're just doing it. And so, you know, I just hope that if you guys have kids like I do, that you're doing that. And I hope that brightens up your day. Just that little story. Maybe hearing a little bit about me and how I overcame my mental health obstacles. Excuse me. We all know I've had to come over obstacles with my kidneys recently. There's a ton of heartwarming stories about kidneys out there, and unlikely donors and relationships that form after that. And I'm still been struggling to write my letter to the donors. I get started, or I'll get a mindset of how I'm going to do it, and I haven't done yet. But anyway. Well, I'm actually going to start wrapping up here. I want to thank you guys once more for watching and caring so much about the show. I hope, I'm not going to say what Ellen DeGeneres does and all that, but I do want you guys to look at this and look for the good things that are happening around you, because it's not all negative. Just because the evening news makes it look like everything in the world's, you know, falling to pieces, just know that there's still good happening. There's still reasons to believe in, you know, your neighbor, and to have faith in one another and all of that. So I just want you guys to walk away with that, just feeling a little bit encouraged, and a little bit of, you know, understanding with all that. So, but yeah, if you guys could, I always appreciate a like and a subscribe. I said that earlier. I'd love to get a comment from you guys after the show, even down the road, a year from now, if I get a comment, because it'd be cool, because I like hearing good things from you guys. So even if I read it a year ago from the making of this video, I want to go back and try to find these comments and respond to them, and maybe it'll uplift my day. So if you got something to share, it's not too late just because the show's wrapping up. And but yeah, it's just there's enough negative, and I don't want to ignore the negative, and I don't want you guys to ignore the negatives either, because if there are problems going on in your life, if you got issues, reach out for help, right? Sometimes I think we want to put on rose-colored glasses because it's just easier, or we get into a vice and we need to get rid of it. And so, but anyway, I do want to thank you guys once more, and we're wrapping this thing up. Well, my name is John Lofton. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in to Between the Lines. We'll do the same thing next time, next Sunday, 4 p.m. Central. We'll see you on the 31st. And no, it will not be Halloween themed, but we will still have an awesome show. Take care, guys.
Like and subscribe today's show Between the Lines, please.